Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
Good morning, Kentuckiana. Welcome to Kentucky's Voice. I am Debbie Robbins, and I'm your guest host for today, filling in for Tom Fallbush and Bob Waters, and I'm so excited to be here with you. For those of you that are listening on 970 AM, we're so glad that you're here with us. Or maybe you're watching us on video on WBNA's Channel 21, which you can find on Spectrum TV. And also know that we are so excited that if you want to watch later and bring more friends into this program, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube. And our shows air on WBNA at 12:30, 4, and 8 p.m. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I have a lot of topics that I want to cover, but mainly I want to say today that our goal on this show is that we always want to bring our conservative voices, your voice, Kentucky's voice. We always want to cover our local and state political issues because they affect our lives profoundly. And you know, it's like that saying that says all politics is local. That is definitely true. But today, the topic I'm going to cover, it comes from the national level, and it trickles down all the way to us, and it will make a completely profound difference in us. And it's the SAVE Act. That's what it's called, and we'll get to it in a moment. Again, this is Kentucky's Voice, and I want to hear from you. As I am doing the show today, if there's anything that I say or any topic I bring up or anything that triggers a memory in you or a question that you have, please text me at 502-571-0970. That's 502-571-0970. And we are a listener-supported program. We so appreciate everyone that donates to this program. But if you want today to be a part of that, go to KentuckyVoice.org. That's KYVOICE.org. You'll find an area to click so that you can make a donation. We'd love to have it, whether it's your Starbucks cup of coffee that you're going to give up this week or whatever, just so we can hear your voice. This is Kentucky's Voice. I am new to this show, and I've been on a few times so far and really enjoyed hearing your voice and what's going on in our world. And I'll say that today I want to share a little bit of good news with you. It is that the first bill that's been totally passed in both houses in Kentucky and made it to the governor's desk is one that's pretty practical and is going to help us all. Remember the big snowstorm we had a month ago? From now on, there are going to be restrictions on our energy bills where they can't just hike up our energy bills just because we had a bad storm. So I'm really looking forward to the governor signing that bill, and I'm sure you are too, as you got your LG&E bill this past month. And again, even though I'm new to the show, I'm not new to Kentucky, and I'm definitely not new to Louisville. This is my hometown, born and raised here, and I love it. And I'm very proud to be from Louisville and to live in this beautiful bluegrass state and the wonderful history that we have. And it's an honor to sit here and share this time with you. So again, when I say and cover what I want to talk about, I want you to give me a call on texting. Giving me a call is the old times, and that's where I'm from. But text me at 502-571-0970. And when we get back, I want to talk to you about something that's very, very important that is going to change our nation. It has not been updated since 1993, and it has already passed the House, and it is called the SAVE Act. And when we get back on Kentucky's Voice, I'm going to break it down with you and help you understand what it is and why it's a call to action for us. Welcome. Happy Thursday morning. Welcome to Kentucky's Voice. Again, get ready to text me at 502-571-0970 because Kentucky, I want to hear from you. This is all about you. Thank you. I'll be back to you soon. We'll be right back. Thanks.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. Hey, aren't you so glad that President Trump was thrown off of Twitter and Facebook? I can tell you one thing. Even though that was wrong and it violated our First Amendment rights, I'm thrilled that he has his own platform called Truth Social. And if you're not a part of it, I hope you will sign up for it, because when you want to know what our president is thinking, if you don't know already, because he always lets us know, you get it first on Truth Social. I've asked Mr. Producer Dan to put up a quote for you, or one of his Truth Social posts. He also likes to repost other people's thoughts, and I want to read it to you. He's going to put it up for you because this is in regard to the SAVE Act. This is why it's going to be so important. He said, crooked elections cannot be allowed in the USA. And another person wrote and said, Dan Bongino, whom we all know was the FBI deputy director last year, he had John Solomon, who's another wonderful research journalist, on his show today, and he made an interesting prediction. He said that Trump will soon unveil evidence that foreign powers meddled in the 2020 election, which will result in John Thune ultimately caving on the filibuster and the Save America Act will get passed. I think Donald Trump is going to change the narrative in America. I think he's going to change some senators' minds. Think about that. He's going to start revealing some of the intelligence that was kept from the American people, and we're going to see that our foreign adversaries have monkeyed around with our election system more than we know. And, Solomon says, I think when senators realize their state could have been targeted, there's going to be a different debate in America. And it goes on. Ladies and gentlemen, I can remember the 2020 presidential election between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Do you remember it? Are you out there? Do you remember when Fox News, they called the state of Florida for Al Gore before the polls had closed in Central Standard Time? The governor of Florida at the time was Jeb Bush, the soon-to-be president's brother, and he immediately went on the media and radio and said, no, our polls are going to be open for another hour, and you cannot call this election yet. And that misstep and everything that followed caused one of the biggest debacles in our presidential election history. And for this young woman at the time, that really got me thinking and really made me doubt and worry. Like, do you remember the hanging chads. And do you remember the boxes and boxes of ballots that were found in Broward County, Florida, in the county clerk's office? This Broward County, for many years in Florida, it's like every single time there was an election, they were always a problem child. They always made the national news. And it was true. They had a lot of fraud going on in Broward County. And that 2000 election was really the first time in modern TV era where the public, us American public, we started to get a sense that things maybe aren't right anymore in our elections. We started doubting and wondering what was going on. And that was also about the same time, that the CIA, they had created software that would throw elections in third world countries to get rid of dictators. On the surface, that sounds really great. And it was. I mean, they got rid of some really bad people. But what happened is that fearfully, we will find out, I'm not saying for sure, I don't have that proof, that it's been allegedly used in our own elections. And we all know it. We just know it in our spirit and in our guts. But that's one of the reasons that we're in trouble as a nation, because if politicians are working to throw elections, we're never going to have a country back. And at that time, that really disturbed me. And that made me want to get involved. So I did. I became an election officer. And for several years, I really enjoyed being an election officer. And I started to write off that 2000 campaign because elections in Jefferson County are run so beautifully and so professionally that I thought, nothing's going wrong here, could never happen here. But I started wondering in 2016 when President Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, and I saw her reaction when she lost. I don't know about you, but if you remember that time, do you remember anybody ever reacting like that? I have never seen anybody throw such a fit. It was like she knew she won, that the fix was in, and when it didn't happen, whoa, that was terrible. And then in 2019, when we here in Kentucky had a questionable governor's race, that really threw our confidence, or it did mine. Maybe you weren't paying attention at the time, but I hope that you are now. You know, it wasn't normal what happened in 2016, and I think that is what got us all going. And Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind, let's put up that next Truth Social post, because I want people to see that our president, he knew all along, and he's been trying to tell us. He knows. And he put up another person's post, and he said, whoa, 38,000 ballots arrived at 3:45 a.m. after Election Day in Michigan during the 2020 election. And there was over 100% voter turnout. Now think about that. Whenever is there 100% turnout for any election? So over 40,000 voters registered to vote 2 days before the election. 40,000 people decided to go register to vote. Over 100,000 votes were mismatched in poll books. None of the names that were processed on ballots were found in the regular electronic poll books. 17,327 dead people voted, verified with Michigan online obituaries, and on and on and on. So, audience, Kentucky's voice. I hope in the future that we'll bring on a gentleman named Dr. Douglas Frank. He's from up the road in Cincinnati. He is an amazing intellect and someone who has tackled this issue profoundly, has great information he'll share, and to let us know that election fraud is happening everywhere, and it's just going to keep unfolding in front of our faces. And even in Georgia, in the past couple of weeks, Tulsi Gabbard, our national security intelligence person, went to Georgia because we know that fraud happened there. And we're probably even finding out that it was international and that even the Chinese had participated. It'll all come out, and we're going to find out. But one thing that really started stirring my soul is I just want to know, text me, let me know, did any of this mean the same thing to you? Did you feel the way that I felt? Because the next thing that really started bothering me over the past few years is everywhere I turned, I felt like we were being invaded. I'd go to the grocery, I'd go to Kroger, I'd go to Target, and we were being invaded by illegal aliens. Now, again, as a Christian woman, as a person of faith who loves God, reads the Bible, totally believes the Word of God and that all of us are made by Him, I also know that if you cross our border illegally in the law of our land right now, it's wrong and you've got to go home. And we have been invaded. We are paying for these people everything, their health care, everything, schools, hospitals. They take our homes, jobs. They get credit cards loaded with $1,500 on them. And it's really, really been scary. And I've been so thankful for what ICE has been doing this past year and our president, how he sealed off our borders. Because unless we get our borders sealed off and we remove illegal aliens and we go through the processes with the SAVE Act that I'm going to talk about very soon, then we may never get our country back. And it's so important. I'm really thankful, Mr. Producer, if you wouldn't mind throwing up real quickly, John Hodgson, who's one of our House members here in Kentucky and from right here in the eastern Jefferson County. House Bill 70, I love because he's already on it also. He wants an act that relates to identity documents. He wants to amend KRS 186 to require the Transportation Cabinet to place a denotation on every new or renewal identity document issued after January 1st, 2027 that indicates the status of the document holder as a citizen of the United States or a non-citizen authorized to be in the United States. Thank you, John Hodgson. And I hope you'll go and look at a lot of bills that he has right now on the floor or trying to get them out of committee. He is a great patriot, doing a great job for us. I'm very concerned about this. It is a sinister problem everywhere we turn. Our culture, our beautiful American culture that we built, that for the past 250 years or 300 that's been cultivated by those that came before us. And yes, I know we came from Europe, and a lot of people that may not agree with me say, wow, how can you just limit it to this culture? It's because we poured our blood, sweat, and tears, and we built it. And I remember President Eisenhower, I wasn't born yet, but I heard that he closed off the borders so that people would have time to assimilate, those that came over during World War I, World War II from Ireland and other places. So we need to get back to that. And when we come back, I want to introduce you to the SAVE Act. Maybe you've heard about it, but we need to get busy on getting it passed. We're halfway there. But we might have a little bit of a conflict, a little bit of an obstacle right here in Kentucky with our Senator, Mitch McConnell. And I need you to help me and convince him. We're coming right back. Don't go away. This is Kentucky's Voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
didn't give you a cutoff on it, but we'll figure it out.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and hello there, Kentuckiana. Again, this is Debbie Robbins, and I am so excited to be here today, and I really would love for you to contact me at 502-571-0970 if there's anything that I'm saying that you want to make a comment about or you've got a thought about. It's very important to me because this is your show, Kentucky's Voice. Before the break, we were talking about our elections and election fraud. And I want you to take a look at, actually, let me start here. Chip Roy, Congressman Chip Roy from Texas. What an amazing congressman. He came up with a solution to get control of our elections again by following the law and really just updating the law from 1993. And he came up with a great acronym. It's called SAVE. SAVE. And aside from being saved by Jesus Christ, which is amazing, aside from being saved by Jesus, then this is called Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. Well, as you would imagine, the other side has gone crazy and said, no way, it's discrimination, it's this, it's that. So take a look right now at Senator Chuck Schumer many years ago when he had a different tune. I'm going to ask
Let's
why.
admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Okay, let's
And
stop
here, the
there,
gentleman
Mr. Producer. Did you hear that? He agrees. He agrees with us that illegal aliens are here fraudulently and they get benefits that they are not entitled to. Can you believe it? That was a few years ago. So what's changed? What's made a difference? Do you think maybe when President Biden allowed 20 million people to cross the border, that they had plans for those people, that they thought that they could do what they preach against and enslave them so that they would vote for them? It's really sad because I do know aliens that have come here that came legitimately, who are brilliant, bright people who grew up in their countries and went to college and did all the right things and did have to come here and start over. And they are amazing people, and they are now citizens. So, Senator Schumer, I'm sorry, what's your problem with the SAVE Act? Safeguard American Voter Eligibility? What's wrong with citizens, us, being in control of this system? You know, we all know, I heard earlier in the week, it was discussed on this show that the DMV is really good at giving licenses to illegal aliens. And the voter rolls are full of massive amounts of illegals, like voters who've died, like we had in that Truth Social post, voters who've moved, and only, we all know, only American citizens should be able to vote. And let me tell you where my problem lies with this, is that our own senator here in Kentucky, Senator Mitch McConnell, whom for a lot of reasons I admire, and he is a lawyer, he's a brilliant man. Because of him, we were able to overturn Roe v. Wade. We have a conservative Supreme Court. I thank him for that. But when it gets to the point where you put where you put rules over relationship or over good common sense legislation, that's not good. And he's against this because he doesn't want states to lose their rights to control elections. And if you've never participated in the election process, and I'll explain it later, every single state has their own process, and that's by design. And even President Trump found that out in 2016 when he first ran. He couldn't believe that Colorado does it this way, Tennessee does it that way, Kentucky does it this way. But that's how it is. But that's not what the SAVE Act is going to interfere with. The SAVE Act is exactly that. It's going to save our election integrity. It protects the principles of one citizen, one vote. reinforces confidence in our election integrity. It allows only us to register to vote. We have to prove our citizenship, and it'll address errors in our voter rolls. It does a lot of great things, support accurate and updated voter registration. It aligns with existing federal law, like I said, from 1993, that already prohibits non-citizen voting. The SAVE Act is wonderful. It's a wonderful bill. Nothing is perfect. And President Trump even wants there to not be mail-in voting. But this bill, even the way that it's written, will by default help to stop nonsensical mail-in voting. And we need it. We need it so we can trust in our integrity of our system again. I need it as an election officer, as a citizen who's poured 25 years into working every single election that I can because I love my country. What I've done in my real life or other life outside of this chair today is being in Christian ministry and music and singing for our military troops all over the world and getting to witness firsthand their patriotism and what they sacrifice for us on a daily basis, that we have this amazing life that we have. And as the mother of a son, I want that. I want integrity in elections. I don't want non-citizens voting who have no idea what they're voting for or what it's about. And you may think, oh, well, there's a lot of people who vote today who don't know what it is and what it's about. And that's true. And that's on us. And that's why we need to educate each other and educate our citizenry. But Chip Roy explained it when he was on the floor the other day. He said that he gave an example of Arizona having two systems. He said one for state and one for state and local elections and one for federal. And what this bill does is and also in Arizona and probably here in Kentucky and other states, all states, they check for citizenship in local and state elections, but they're unable to verify it for citizenship in the federal elections. And this bill is going to allow the states to have systems, federal systems, to open up the states to be able to check and require proof of citizenship when you register. And he said this, he said, there's nothing more sacred under the Constitution than ensuring that the people are able to have the voice in the election of the people that represent them in Washington and throughout the country. Because once that's undermined, people lose faith. And in the very institutions upon which this country is built. I remember taking my son to Washington, D.C. at the age of 13, mother-son trip, profound, beautiful trip. I'll never forget him standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial and just staring up at that and then looking at the scriptures that were written on the walls and at the speech of Abraham Lincoln and then explaining to him and reminding him what a profound moment in history that was. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have got to call Senator McConnell. I want you to call him and say, sir, you've got to pass the SAVE Act. You are the man in charge of the rules and everything on the floor. If it means you filibuster, let the Democrats filibuster all night long. Let them do it. Because I know, if you don't know, it's usually you have to have a 60-vote majority in order to pass something. But we can do a 51 majority. I don't understand all the implications to it, but I know it has to do with the filibuster and letting them filibuster. So call him. I'm going to give you the number. It's 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. They'll answer the phone there at the Capitol. They're wonderful. They'll guide you right to Senator McConnell. And also, while you're at it, contact Senator Rand Paul as well and say, we want the SAVE Act passed. Don't let them tell you, and don't listen to the mainstream media. They're not telling you the truth. It is possible. And even let John Thune know, who is the Senate Majority Leader. Let him know as well. We want the SAVE Act. We've got to save America. It's our duty. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you some ways that we can do it. Because Kentuckians, Louisvillians, you're amazing people. This is an amazing place. Our country is given to us by God. We are one nation under God. And let's keep it that way. So, thank you for listening, and I'll be right back. This is Kentucky's Voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. Hi again from Debbie Robbins. I want to thank the listener who just sent me a text, and I'm going to read it. It says, pretty true, but nothing's impossible. It says, McConnell hasn't listened to Kentucky in years. Well, that's true. On some issues. Others he has. But let me say this to all of you, that I know that one phone call from me and you to him exponentially represents hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, who have the same opinion as you do. So the more phone calls that we make, the more we put the pressure on, the more emails, he's going to have to listen. And the more we pressure everyone else around him that may be doubting or waffling or thinking that they need to be loyal to the guy who's getting ready to retire, who has given so much to our nation. I'm sorry, the one thing you can do for us, Mitch McConnell, the one amazing thing you can do before you leave, that would be icing on the cake, a cherry on top of everything else you've done, is to get this SAVE Act passed. So whoever, sir or ma'am, whoever texted me, don't give up. Start calling today and do it every day. Get friends, everybody to call. So I want to go back right now to Senator Schumer. I wanted to go on further and let you hear, I let you hear before how he used to think, which was just like us. And now what he thinks. So, Mr. Producer, let's do it.
Yeah, the voter ID laws that, first, each state can have its own voter ID laws, and some do and some don't. But secondly, what they are proposing in this so-called SAVE Act is like Jim Crow 2.0. They make it so hard to get any kind of voter ID that more than 20 million legitimate people, mainly poorer people and people of color, will not be able to vote under this law. We will not let it pass in the Senate. We are fighting it tooth and nail. It's an outrageous proposal that is, that shows the sort of political bias of the MAGA right. They don't want poor people to vote. They don't want people of color to vote because they often don't vote for them.
Birth certificate, marriage license. Pass the SAVE Act, dummies.
She's exactly right. I'm a woman, and I just find that so ridiculous. I am very proud to be Mrs. Debbie Robbins, and it didn't bother me one bit to take my documentation in and to have my driver's license changed or to verify who I am so that when I leave this world, my son will know his mom, her real name, who she is, where she was born and raised. It's ridiculous. So I don't understand these senators, but really I do. I understand them. All they want is power. And when you have forgotten that the reason that you're there is to serve people, serve. Do what we ask. Do what is the majority of opinion wants. When you forget that, you need to bow out and you need to go home. And that's the same for Senator McConnell. Well, he is going to go home. He is going to retire. But he is still a vote, a very critical vote. Don't give up. Please call him. So I want to continue on and say, when you feel that way, like this person who wrote in and said he's not going to listen, what do you need to do? I love this great Edmund Burke quote. He was the founder of Culture and Political Philosophy of Conservatism. He said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Did you hear that? The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. We cannot not do nothing. You need to call. I'm going to say it again. Let me find my sheet again. I want you to call 202-224-3121 and tell Mitch McConnell to pass the SAVE Act. People are always complaining about the process. I hear it all the time, and I understand because especially, it seems really complicated. I hear them complain about the Republican Party in general and the apparatus, and I'm also a part of the at-large committee for the Jefferson County governing Republican Party. It's very interesting to be a part of it. I'm very honored to be a part of it. And I want to say to you that when people complain about the process, I say to them, come to the meetings, because in every state in the union, every state, every county, all 120 counties have Republican Party apparatuses, and the same with the Democratic Party. They are the governing bodies. They set the rules. They set things in motion for us to be able to use our beautiful right to vote, exercise that right. And it may seem complicated. And President Trump, like I said earlier, he learned in 2016. I'll never forget him complaining about Colorado. He was just like, how do they do this system? And yeah, people can be very, very tricky and they like to manipulate. I understand that. But nonetheless, our states run their own deal. And the bottom line is that we want integrity in elections. And that's why we want the SAVE Act. We want it, demand it. And then we make our politicians, make it in your life. You know, we spend so much time on other things, but if you really love our country, and I know you do, that's why you're listening, and we know that we're in such a dire place, you kind of need to make the politics your Super Bowl or your hobby. You need to get involved. I remember many years ago as a teenager, I had a family that I knew from Colombia, South America, who were here as resident aliens, and they became citizens, but they took me to Colombia for the summer. And I didn't know at the time that their 18-year-old son, who was still not a citizen, was also not a citizen of Colombia. That's their law. Every young man has to serve in the military for at least 1 year or 2 years. And the reason we went there that summer, unbeknownst to me, but I stayed there all summer, learned and immersed myself in the culture, loved the language, was so that he could get a military ID. And it was fake. Yeah. Like what happens here when illegal aliens come here and get fake IDs. But he had to have it because they had waited too long before they got his ID. So they needed to get that so he could come back home to America and become a citizen. Flash forward decades later, I have my son who's in a geography class. And the day also before I left Colombia, I about did not get home because the car that I was in going to a beach for the day was stopped. The driver was arrested and thrown in the back of a truck with a bunch of men and taken to a jail. And I was terrified that I wasn't going to get home, that I was going to get arrested. And they took him because they said his military ID was not intact. But the young man that I was with the family who had the fake ID, he passed the test. It was a crazy time. Long story short, I made it home. But just to tell you, we are in the greatest country on the planet, and you've got to take it seriously, and you've got to take the time to fight for our country and to get this SAVE Act passed. I'm reminded of a young lady that I'm helping right now who is running for 3rd District Congress here in Louisville. Her name is Maria Rodriguez. She's one of many wonderful candidates that we have on the Republican side who are running. I'm very proud that we have people running against McGarvey for our 3rd District Congress seat. Maria's Cuban. She grew up in Cuba. She's been in the United States for 17 years. She's now a citizen and a very proud citizen. Her mother was jailed and persecuted and harassed for years because she is a pro-life, Catholic, deep woman of faith. And that persecution went to her family as well, her children. Maria, who you just saw, she was pulled out of music school that she got accepted to just because of her beliefs. It took her family 9 years to legally get to the United States. They were terrified to go to the Swiss embassy and fill out their paperwork. And they had to wait 9 years, excruciatingly dangerous, long time. And when they got here, they did things right. She lays it on the line. She's taught me so much to remind me of what a blessing it is to be an American. She loves it. She wants to stand for our country. She wants to fight against these socialist tendencies, the lies that are happening with all of the illegal aliens that are here and all of what's going on with trying to steal our elections. So I encourage you to check out Maria, number one, a wonderful young woman. She's one of several candidates, a great candidate for Congress. But for you to take it seriously as an American, call Senator McConnell, call Senator Paul, call Senator Thune. Because I want you to remember what Ronald Reagan told us. He said, freedom, and I'm sure you've heard this before, and I'm going to say it again, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And unfortunately, this past generation where we've watched our children be brainwashed, we've watched them be lied to. Even my own 20-year-old son, who was raised in a conservative Christian home and a very solid values, went to a very conservative school. I have to constantly revisit with him and remind him and pick his brain to help him not get brainwashed by the craziness out there. I want my America back. Do you want your America back? I know you do. I do. So more things you can do is I want you to get registered to vote. If you're not, I'm sure those that are listening, you probably are. Get every single person in your family to vote. As President Trump told us in 2024, you know how we're going to make it happen? We're going to make it too big to rig. So if you vote and you get out there and you vote, there's no way, even with cheating, that they're going to beat us. Get to know what offices are up for election. Man, on the state level, you vote for the issues. The national level, you vote for the philosophy. But if you haven't voted correctly on the local level, by the time they get to the national, you may not have a choice. You want to make sure we have conservatives in office. Remind people it's a privilege to vote. Bring it up in your conversations. You don't have to get in a political fight. You just have to defend and remind people what a great country this is. And what a great opportunity this year with America 250 to do just that. Become an election officer like I did. It's critical that our conservative voice is heard. We have to have equal representation at the polls. And when we get back, as I close out the show today, getting close to that, I'll give you a few more tips. But vote, get this SAVE Act passed. Thanks for listening. I look forward to closing out with you. This is Kentucky's Voice, your voice.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Hi, Kentucky's Voice. This is your voice. And thank you so much for those of you who have been responding. The gentleman who sent me, or I don't know if you're a lady or gentleman, who sent me the text earlier about McConnell not listening, you're cracking me up. You said, repent. No statues for Mitch ever. I get that. So, and then others, I'm going to cover some of these things. Actually, thank you, because you are right on track with some things I'm going to cover. Scripturally, you said we are all God's creation. We do not become God's children until we get born again, receiving Jesus as Savior and Lord and believing in his resurrection. And on The View, someone said, Governor Bashir said the golden rule is love your neighbor as yourself, which is actually the second greatest commandment according to Jesus. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then someone asked a very important question, and I love it. I'll get to it, because some of the local races are now not providing party affiliation. What is the easiest way to find out what they are? Well, I'm going to tell you immediately on this one. Let me answer that first. Go to Facebook. Go to the Jefferson County Republican Party page and either put it out there on Facebook or go to their website, which I think is jcrp.org or .com, and all of the candidates will be listed. They will let you know. And the thing about the nonpartisan races, it's very important, is that you don't vote straight party ticket, because if you vote straight party ticket and you ignore the nonpartisan races, they won't be counted. So you do have to know your candidate. You're exactly right. And that is only on Metro Council races and judges, but our county clerk race, of course, our federal offices, Congress, Senate, those are all party affiliated. So that is a very good question. It's extremely important that you know that. Take the time to find it out. It's very important. And we'll try to provide that information on future shows. And I'm just going to keep going through my list that I was giving you on how you can participate. And it says, I want you to remember that each one of us can really reach one. And I told you, vote in the primary. If you don't vote in the primary on May 19th, wow, you're setting yourself up, possibly setting us up for failure of who comes out of those primaries, because we want the absolute best candidate who aligns with our values. Give the moral reason why to people when you're talking to them, including our country's, include history, those who sacrifice for us when you're speaking to citizens or young people. I like to remind people that it's a privilege to vote. I know that those of you that are listening to me, you know these things, but I just want to remind us all. Become an election officer, like I said. It's critical that the conservative voice is represented. We have to have equal representation. I don't like showing up at my polling place and me being the only Republican in my precinct. Either that somebody didn't show up or we couldn't fill the spot. I need you. I need you there, because we have all eyes all day on what's going on. Because an election officer, you're sworn into your office. It's very important. Attend local party meetings, like I said. Even President Trump learned, like I told you, about parties and how to vote. And even though you won't be able to vote at the meetings, you can get on the agenda to speak. You can make announcements about events on helping candidates. People leave, but also people leave these positions a lot of times. I'm on the at-large committee. Sometimes other things take people away and positions come open. And after every presidential election, both Democrats and Republicans do what they call reorganization, where we have a big convention where you can get on those committees. It's our democracy and our republic at work. You need to be a part of it. Attend or join local clubs. For example, Republican women's groups. And men can also join those groups as like associate members. You can't vote. But I was the president of the Republican Women of Southeast Jefferson County over 20 years ago, and I was there. I served for about 4 to 6 years in either vice president or president. It was wonderful. I learned so much. I met so many wonderful people in the community. It really got me involved and helped me to know the political process and how to help. And our women's groups helped out at so many political events. A lot of people say to me, too, these events are so expensive. I can't go to them, all these fundraisers. That's true. I can't either. We tithe. We love giving our money to ministries. And there's not a whole lot of on top of that money to just spend at a political event. However, if you want to go to an event, volunteer for one. And sometimes you can just pay the minimum of what it costs to eat. Or have your own event. Have your own event. Have something in the backyard that a lot of people can come to. That you have to find out the election laws that surround whether it's an in-kind donation, if you're providing food, especially if it's for a particular candidate. But what you could do is have a gathering and let elected officials know they're invited, get them there to speak. And then people can donate out of their own pockets and take it up with that particular candidate and take care of all the paperwork they need to make a donation. But there are so many ways for you to be involved. You can walk. You can make phone calls for candidates. You can be in parades for them. You can go to festivals and sit in their booths and volunteer. Just sink your teeth into somebody who needs your help, because it takes a lot of courage. It's a lot of courage to run for office. It takes energy, passion, integrity, and a lot of grit, and they need your help. And I know you have talent, treasure, and time out there. Many of you have so many gifts that you can donate and help in this process. But again, I'm telling you all this because we've got to protect our elections. I'm going to keep going back to the SAVE Act. I'm not giving up, and I'm putting Mitch McConnell on notice that we're going to call and call and call until he listens. I do know that Congressman Andy Barr wrote him a letter and trying to convince him, imploring him to support the SAVE Act. And hopefully that's going to have an impression on him coming from another colleague. And he also knows that Andy is one of our Senate candidates on the Republican side. So, and also to address the lady that talked to me about the scripture in Andy Bashir, which I watched that clip of him, and it made me sick in my stomach. I'll just be honest with you. I felt like he was what I call pimping Jesus. And I could go into that further, but instead I'm going to use someone. I just want to remind you that, first of all, before I give you my example here of who helped me to put this in perspective, that as Christians, we need to attend a church that puts biblical principles first, and where they're not afraid to let you know who to vote for. They can do that now. It's been allowed, as far as our president in 2017 and 2025 signed executive orders allowing just that. Now, I know pastors are afraid, but I don't want a pastor who's afraid anymore. I want somebody who's courageous. I highly recommend that if you know or know the name Reverend Bob Russell, he was the pastor of Southeast Christian Church for 40 years. He has a weekly blog. It's always fascinating. He's fearless. He addresses these very tough issues. And here's his title of his blog last week. He said, "When faith is shaped by culture instead of scripture." That's the name of the blog. And he said, after listening to Governor Bashir on The View, Brother Russell, he confirmed, quote, that many cultural and social debates are, at their core, moral and spiritual issues. He knows that pastors know that. He said pastors know that many of our culture and social debates, and it's true, at their very core, they're moral and spiritual issues. And Albert Mohler of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, he suggested that Christians, this is very important, listeners, this is very important. He said Christians, they must distinguish between historic biblical Christianity and what we now call progressive Christianity. It's a movement that approaches Scripture differently. It's compassion and inclusion, which you've heard over and over again, love your neighbor as yourself, that versus creation order in the full authority of Scripture. You know, Jesus did say, we are to love our neighbor as ourselves, but he also commanded us to follow the Scripture. So be wise. Be wise. And those of you that are listening that are Christians, which I assume is most of our audience here, if you're struggling with this, if you're struggling with the whole illegal alien issue, the ICE issue, just remember we're a nation of laws. We are to give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Go back, look it up, read, go to many sources that you can find. And are we getting some texts? Oh, great. Okay. I'm going to jump in here and see what you all have to say. You've been listening to me long enough. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, good. Somebody's given us some great information. According to the Jefferson County Board of Elections, they are always running short on Republican volunteers. That is the truth. I know that firsthand, to work the polls. And the pay for that is quite good for a couple of hours of training. Actually, I know exactly what it is. It's a 12-hour day at least when you work the polls, and you have a mandatory 2-hour training session. So our legislature fondly or kindly gave us $299 per day if you work the primaries, and then if you work the fall election. So, because really, if you sign up to be an election officer, make sure you know that you're going to do that for the year, because they count on you, if you're the primary person, to return to that same place in the fall. It keeps their work a lot easier and really helps you too. And I've met some amazing people. I love seeing the people that I get to see every couple of years who come to the polls and hear their stories, and all the neighbors. Even though I don't even live in that precinct, it's a lot of fun. So, in case you haven't noticed, I really love people. And I love talking to people, and I like talking to you even though I can't see you right in front of me. Kentucky's Voice, you are so important. You are a treasure, and you're very important. So that's all good. All right, we have here, yes, so again, like I said, go to the Facebook pages, go to websites for the Republican Party. For the conservatives, you'll be able to see who the candidates are and who is in the nonpartisan races and who's also running. We have four candidates there for Congress. And it's an exciting year and a critical year. Again, we've got to be passionate about saving this country. I'm very passionate about it. I love my country. Next to loving Jesus and my family, because God gave me some amazing opportunities as a younger woman. I got to travel all over the world. I got to see firsthand that, yeah, there are other beautiful places, but this country, when I got home from Colombia, South America, for example, and landed in Miami, I literally kissed the ground. I did. So I want to encourage you today, listeners. I want you to use your MAGA common sense when you are looking at all of these officials that are running for office this year. Get behind them, choose them, find who you can help. But today for sure, I want you to call 202-224-3121. Get all your family members to do that. And leave messages for Senator McConnell and Rand Paul and Senator John Thune. And believe me, this is the greatest country in the world. God bless America. God bless you. Thank you for having me in your home today. We'll see you next time. This is Kentucky's Voice.